Set up, no camera. I'm in the living room. Yesterday, and I woke up late today. I had to wake up at like 6:30 and change bandages, and I took pain medicine and went back to sleep. So
the clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. His old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Lapino was no game changer, but could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
alright, I need to view stories. I need to see which one, because you gotta do all of these. Or I need to do something out of this category and something out of this category to unlock stuff. So this one did rescue Lapino, find the armature, core. So I can do back choices. So I could do, let's do build the Skyripper. I think I've only done that one twice. I've done it 3 times. That's the core, and that's the Zenobia. Okay, back. Let's do this one.
The island was windswept desert.
Let's do the
no
gym.
one went there except ostriches and ostrich hunters. The Iblis Stone. It sounded ominous. It sounded powerful. If the Emperor was searching for it, it must be dangerous. And so, Bernardo went ostrich hunting.
I mean, oh yeah, and you'll probably hear the dog, because she's, sitting here on the couch now. I probably could just do, like, the top story in each one, then do 2, and then 3, then knock all those out. But, yeah, I like just doing kind of whatever I want. I just have to check out. Make sure I'm not doing the things multiple times, because that's kind of a waste.
Every child could sing verses about
Hi,
the
Basil.
Skyripper.
You want to drop it?
But
Drop
ancient
it.
codices held hints of
Drop
other
it, I'll throw it.
things.
Good girl.
A stone that ate souls. Ruby that drank blood. A jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis Stone? Long hidden in a buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals?
What's this way? Oh, Basil, you gotta do something besides just leave it there. Get it, Basil. I'm not bending over to pick that up. Hang on, I gotta fix the video. It's not right on my screen. Can I? I gotta see. Oh, I gotta turn this stuff down. I don't know if I can fix the video. Like, I have stuff I can't see on the screen. Huh. Ooh, can I make something?
Bench. Renato wondered what he could make with it.
The Void Blade. Sweet. We're gonna stick with this though. Is there anything down here? Oh, there's a path down this way. Unbound Cellrack, thanks for the host, buddy. I appreciate it. I mean, it's not like I'm not seeing anything major, but it is quite annoying.
The air here tasted bitter.
The steps were too tall for a person. The entire place felt restless, like it had been vexed to nightmare under the dust, waiting for its hour to come around at last.
Nothing? Alright. Ah! Yeah, oh, they just keep coming. Oh, that was stupid of me to stand there.
The ravens were already here, cawing in frustration.
Go ahead and fix that
He was
hill.
still searching for a way in. Good. Then he hadn't come too late.
Long live the Emperor! Called the ravens.
Ah, stood in that again. Anything? Nope, nothing.
If they didn't want their things broken, they really ought to make them stronger.
I got the frost sword, so I can go that way. Let's go this way. XZGL, thanks for the host, buddy. I appreciate it. So I've been this. Yeah, because I've read that already.
A road less traveled. This could be fun. If it wasn't fatal, that is.
Oh, fighting on the bridge. Oh, Lord. Get out of there. Jeez. Ooh. That's pretty good. I didn't take too much damage that time.
There was an engraving. Maximum capacity, 130 people.
Let's get this guy. Let's go.
How could a temple to Iblis still even exist? The Transcendent Emperor had destroyed all the shrines of the lost gods after exiling them. Had it been buried in that long-ago battle? Or had Iblis foreseen his fate and hidden it from his enemy?
I'll just have a dash, thought Renato.
Ooh, level up. Oh, whoops. Sorry, it didn't hurt too much.
The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously, the temple builders knew how to deal with tomb raiders.
Renato felt like he was ready to learn new things. Thank goodness he didn't have to go to school for that.
Let's do some
It
stats
was
here.
more and more extraordinary.
The stats to just help me get through these levels a little bit quicker.
Renato really didn't want to become shawarma, or shish taouk for that matter.
It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. Who said that? It was the stone. Eager, thirsty. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and Renato wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of Skyripper?
I've not done that one yet, so we'll do that
It
one.
was the eye of a lost god torn out by the Transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. What's the core? Said the stone anxiously.
That's easy. We haven't done that one.
The stone bothered him. He hated being told what to do. Wasn't that why he joined the rebellion? Wasn't that why he'd refused to be a soldier? He'd agreed to come on board only if he could freelance.
The stone felt a bit clingy. The sage Calaveras, had told him where to find the Skyripper, a weapon capable of challenging the gods. Even without its armature, the core would still possess great power. He would go there.
The moment he landed the Farfarer, Renato had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. Frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he? Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Fu school together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter. No. Kill Zenobia, whispered the stone. Before it's too late.
Once, Renato had opened a chest, and Jack-in-the-Box jumped out. Jack-in-the-Boxes, they gave him the Wiggins.
Let's go this way.
The waterfall was spectacular. Well, you had to enjoy these things as they came. We passed this way but once.
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
You almost never saw wild gogglers together like this. The toads had to train them not to peck each other to death. So these had to be imperial gogglers. That meant ravens were up ahead.
The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. "You're weak," whispered the stone. "The core will kill you." "Are you afraid of it?" "No, don't be ridiculous." It chuckled. But it's unstable. It will poison you if someone just carry it. And if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically. Renato did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards.
Yeah, that's kind of crap. I got hit by a couple of them that didn't even, or like I was knocked down, I couldn't block them, so, happens.
The thing about puzzles was, once you solved one, you knew how to solve it again. Puzzles had no, what was the word? replayability. Renato wondered if you could design a puzzle that would be different every time you played with it. Wouldn't that be fun?
Go on. There you go.
Renato felt bad for littering, but these islands are short on trash cans.
Oh, come on. I hit over in square.
As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical.
He had a sudden vision of plunging his gauntlet into the core and dying in anguish. That wasn't his vision, was it? The stone had sent him its darkest fears, hadn't it? He had a sudden impulse to do exactly that. He raised his right fist and plunged it into the core. There was a rush of light. He thought he could hear the stone screaming. And then he passed out.
When Renato came to, the core was gone. But the Iblis Stone was no longer black, but glowing with a blue light.
And it was silent. "I can't hear you," he sang out. And, "You?" It didn't answer. "Ha!" he said.
He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he?
Let's do...
As the Farfarer made its way toward the Nexus, Renato watched sparks fly out of the core. The Iblis Stone sucked them in hungrily. You'd think the stone would want this kind of power, wouldn't it? Thought Renato. Well, the scientists would explain it all.
This time, Renato was sure he'd figured out how to use the core safely.
See? He'd trusted his gut, and it had worked out. That's what it meant to be a hero. To ignore the naysayers and the oddmakers, and do what you knew was right, and have it turn out to be the right thing. Well, he wasn't worried. Once he got to the observatory, the scientist toads could explain it. Then he could carry the war into the enemy's camp and destroy them all. Oh dear, he was getting a little bloodthirsty, wasn't he?
If only he had some way to break the ice. Or convince it he was a friend.
Reynardo had never felt better in his life. Normally, a battle would wear him down and he would need a night's sleep. Now he felt like he could go all night and all day. He felt like people were cheering him on, and he could practically hear their applause as he slew one raven after another.
The Iblis Stone and the Skyripper Core. Two artifacts from the time of legends. Reynardo was becoming a legendary hero, wasn't he? He had enough power to save the rebellion, but he had to understand this power, so he would not misuse it. Energy spheres. Easy to dodge, but boy do they sting if you didn't pay attention.
Brilliant. Lovely. Hold that pose.
These platforms were great. Reynardo wanted one for his house. The toads at the observatory measured the stone with their occult devices. I fed it the core of Skyripper, explained Reynardo. No more Vive Palan souls.
But the core is not an unlimited energy source,
said one toad. Another said,
there's a feedback loop, you see, which could overload the stone.
Yeah, the stone doesn't actually feed on souls,
claimed a third.
but on pain of killing another sentient being. If you can truly be at peace with yourself, it would not overload.
This was all very confusing. At peace? Yes, the mountains were peaceful and quiet, but he now had the power to turn the tides. He should report to the Rebellion Council and prepare for the decisive battle.
The one thing he understood from all the toad arguments, maybe the stone did not feed on blood or souls or rage. It fed on empathy. It fed on the pain he felt when he put an end to another being's existence. Even if that other being was a raven intent on killing him, if he could find peace, then he could use the power of the Iblis Stone without being taken over by its evil. The mountains. He would go to the mountains. He could find peace there.
Yeah. Peace. It's like a Jedi. Reynardo's turning into a Jedi. Oh, man! Ugh, I haven't quite woken up yet today. Good story, though. I like this arc. It's nice playing something new.
Unfortunately, the mountains were not empty. There were ravens everywhere. No matter. He had to fight, yes, but he didn't have to be angry. Parry, dodge, slash, and breathe. Yes, focus on the rhythm, the dance of it, not on the blood or the raven's core as they died. Ah, it was working. He wasn't feeling those dark jolts of eldritch energy. He wasn't feeding the Iblis Stone.
Oh crap! Walked right into that one. Was it 10 energy? Blame.
This
Don't need
would be
any
the
of those.
perfect place for a tic-tac-toe board. Odd that they never locked these things. The stone was still silent. His mind was his own. And his heart, too. He bore them no ill will, these ravens. They were doing their job. They were expressing their nature. Dance, whirl, parry, jab, and breathe. It was all so simple, wasn't it? Something was missing. He didn't feel truly at peace. Wait. Wasn't this near where Calaveras lived? The sage would help him figure it all out.
Ouch.
Over here, right? There had to be something useful in these things, didn't there? Open, says me.
Iblis Stone, silenced by the Skyripper's core, had given Renato enough power to challenge the Imperial fleet. But what Renato was seeking was inner peace. The rebellion was on the verge of extinction, but it would have to wait.
I kind of like this extra running.
At the end of the mountain path, he found the wise Calaveras in his workshop. "Do you fix souls or only artifacts?" he asked the sage.
Does your soul need fixing?
Asked the sage. "I've been killing a lot of ravens lately," he told the sage.
You're a fox,
said Calaveras.
and to kill birds is part of your nature. Take joy in it. I mean, I might as well worry about eating flies. Would you like a fly?
It was true. That's what he had forgotten. The joy. Now he was ready for the final battle. The Farfarer cut through the clouds. The air had never felt so sweet since he was a child.
There it was, the dreaded Imperial fleet. He could smell wet hemp ropes ahead, wood and tar, and ravens. Even the fleet smelt good, somehow. He was ready.
He was ready.
Yeah, final battle.
Renato had it all squared away in his head.
He would kill the Emperor. Isengrim III had begun well, but he had gone mad. He was trying to invoke the lost gods by means of dark, blasphemous rituals. That was a secret, but the victims had spoken to Renato. The ghosts had spoken. No. No anger. Renato could not afford anger. It was empowering the crystal in his sword. That made him stronger, but it clouded his mind. He would not be a hero. A hero strives. Renato would just be one with everything. The Emperor would die, and the wheel would turn, and all would be restored without rancor, without sorrow, without pain. But the more he thought about it, and he had so much more time to think about it now that he was not worrying about the battle, killing the Emperor would not change anything. Another would take his place. Perhaps Zenobia. Perhaps the Speaker of the Rebel Council, and power would corrupt them too, and death would make grief, and grief would lead to hatred. He must lead by example. Reject the violence. Reject the desire to create violence. But how?
So I think because I have all my swords leveled up to 2, all the chests are just going to give me this energy and stuff.
Here.
Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Funny that this whole war had come about because the Emperor feared death. and now it was coming for him. There was some sort of lesson there, wasn't there? Finally, he came to the Emperor's ship. The path behind him was strewn with dead ravens. The path to enlightenment. His mistake, he realized, was trying to change the world. The world would spin and the wheel would revolve whether he strove against it or not. What he had to do was nothing. He had attained enlightenment. He sat down, adopted a full lotus position, and began to meditate. And all around him, the warriors stopped fighting too. They knew. They could feel his enlightenment. They gave up fighting, dropped their weapons, and became his disciples. No, just kidding. The nearest raven stabbed him with a sword and then chopped off his head. Might not have thought this through properly. Thought Renado's head as it rolled around the deck and died.
Oh, it's hilarious.
He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up. Like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. But he'd learned another true thing. The Iblis Stone was evil. It would try to corrupt anyone who used it.
I guess these are the Lupino ones? Alright.
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Skyripper had surfaced. Renata knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. On the other hand, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Lupino was no game changer, but could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
I think Lupino is his top one. View. That's the gem. So I've rescued Lupino a couple times. Or once? Once. Alright, so I'm going to do Lupino.
Ah, Lupino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lupino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. The Ravens had figured out that Lupino was a rebel spy. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Lupino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it
Wait. Where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the ravens?
Our statue.
That was odd. Ronaldo had been here, at this exact place, at this exact time. But this time, there were so many more ravens.
Maybe because I leveled up.
Ronaldo had tried everything.
How did that hit me?
Zenobia had loved him to death. The Skyripper had destroyed everything. The Iblis Stone had corrupted everyone who held it. He'd never put much faith in Lapino. But Lapino was all he had left. He smelled burnt fur. His. Had felt better.
Come on. Huh. Stash into it.
It was time for him to learn something new. He felt bad for people who had to study.
There was a pleasant breeze coming through that door. Had it been closed before?
Trevor, which way I'm supposed to go? What is this? Oh, use workshop. I came this way. I went that way because that was the door, so let's go this way. I came this way. Probably missed something somewheres. Oh shoot, I missed this chest. Yeah, because I was just there and it took me back up here. It's weird, I've never gotten lost on any of these maps before. This was just a chest. You're running around in a circle. Feels like I'm missing things.
This chest smelled kind of funky. He hoped he didn't get it in his clothes.
So I'm already at the beginning. Okay. I missed that chest completely.
See? With enough leverage, you could go anywhere. Holy crap, why can I not figure out how to get past this part? There's not a ship here. If I go down there, it just takes me back up to here. Can't get past that. Oh, the well. Duh. obstacle!
Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Where had the mad rabbit got to?
Oops, I didn't get out of there.
Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Renato recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am. The ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, see, this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for weasels. Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia.
We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows, and that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him.
On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Skyripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power.
I haven't done this one yet, so we're gonna go this path.
Just the Emperor's daughter, of course. She'd been Renato's best friend in sword fu school. And you're still mad for her. The rabbit reminded him.
The rabbit had a point. And Renato had a feeling she'd want to see him again. Who knows what could happen between the two of them this time around?
She knows all his plans, chuckled the master spy. She won't give them up easily.
She'll tell the interrogators, all right,
said Lupino. Taking her would change the game, all right.
The city was already under Zenobia's control. I had to admire her efficiency. Renato shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty.
Alright, let's do this. Yeah, now when I need it, the freaking chests aren't full of goodies.
The city was burning, and there was no one to put out the fires. If somehow Zenobia survived her father and inherited his crown, what sort of empire would she be heir to? But he couldn't think about that, could he? You couldn't hack this kind of firewall. You had to warm it up to you.
Huh. let's go this way. Oh, hey, look, there's a chest right here. Alright, I can get some health. Just energy.
What exactly was Lupino up to this time? You could see the wheels spinning inside his head. They made Renato dizzy, in fact.
Whoa. This thing's hit for a ton. Like that.
Ha! Bet you never saw that coming.
But he did, because he hit me. I have to use my hook to stun him, then stab him. Shoot.
So, what's this plan of yours? Use me as bait, said Lupino. And he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lupino dressing as an old blind toad, and Renato hiding inside a monstrous watermelon.
What could possibly go wrong? Thought Renato. Oh, this is gonna be fun, said Lupino, as he ran to go set up his marvelous plan. Renato felt dubious about the whole plan. With every step, he was waiting for it all to go horribly wrong. But against all odds, Lupino's idiotic plan worked. Zenobia's ravens ran off after the geese, the net dropped, and Renato jumped out of the watermelon and put his sword to Zenobia's throat.
Renato, she said. Are those new scars? They look good on you. You never return my velvet jacket. It was my favorite. You look stupid in velvet. Ah, what does an imperial princess know about style?
Ah, get a room, you two, said Lupino, probably sensing the chemistry.
But the fleet was coming on fast, so they took Zenobia east, over the Nexus. She'd vanished from Swordfu School, from his life, without even saying goodbye, without ever telling him she was the Emperor's adopted daughter.
Bernardo was aware of her feelings. Maybe this was a bad idea, but was he letting his own feelings get the better of him?
Ah, Lapina was right, Bernardo thought reluctantly. She knows things. She recognized his look. You're taking me to the interrogators, aren't you? She said, wide-eyed. And then she jumped, with horror. Bernardo saw Zenobia plummeting. Then he saw the nexus below them. Cats always land on their feet.
Ah, she'll head for the Imperial outpost, yelled Lapino. You have to catch her.
Cats can run faster, but foxes can run longer. If he ran, he could head her off before she reached her minions at the outpost. Well, he did love a good chase.
Surprisingly unwounded. Imagine if you built a house on one of these things. Oh, that would be amazing. It would be like having a boat.
That's funny.
He was closing on her. He could smell her fear. He tried not to think about the interrogators at the secret base. What did they do to her? Maybe it didn't have to end that way. Maybe he could talk to her. But, after all, there were worse things the Imperials had done to friends of his.
Is it not gonna let me through? Oh, I guess I gotta go this way.
How could he have let her escape? Why hadn't he shackled her? Bernardo wasn't used to being on this side of the whole prisoner-jailer thing.
Bernardo reached the outpost. The Imperials there were no match for him. Soon after, Zenobia limped up the path. When she realized he was already in front of her, she didn't even try to run. Oh, you left without saying goodbye. Again, he said, please. I'm enjoying this a little too much. She said, shaken. Oh, spare us the chit-chat, would you? Said Lapino as he shackled her hands so she couldn't throw spells. She knows all his plans. All the way back to the Farfarer, Lapino nagged Bernardo about how the interrogators would pry all the intel out of Zenobia. How that would turn the tides in the imminent battle. All they had to do was take her to the rebels' secret base. Bernardo didn't like to think about what the interrogators would do to her. Couldn't he just talk to her? As they reached the ruins, Bernardo could see ravens everywhere, searching for the rebel base. They'd have to hide the Farfarer or go on foot. What if we get separated? Asked Lapino, for once thinking ahead. I'll show you a map to the base. Bernardo told Lapino. Bernardo, don't do this, said Zenobia. We were friends once. We... Shut it, witch, or I'll shackle your mouth too, said Lapino. And then, a few moments later, they touched down.
Drawing him a map to the base, he'll probably get captured. The base get destroyed, and he'll lose the game.
As Lapino pulled Zenobia off the Farfarer, Bernardo readied himself for the battle ahead. I'm sorry I nicked your jacket, she said. It's just... It's stupid, but... It smelled like you. What? He said, confused. Then... Why didn't you write? Why didn't you first speak? Oh, save the romantic nostalgia. Let's go! Shrieked Lapino. So Renato launched himself down the path to the secret base.
I got more from those barrels than I did the chest.
Hey, I hear black is the new dead.
That's good. I didn't catch myself on fire like I had been doing.
Hey, Frosty.
Bernardo was walking Zenobia to the rebel secret base, where she would be interrogated. So, why was he feeling so scared? This chest was filled with old concert t-shirts. And something useful.
there two of them there?
What did you do if one of these platforms stalled?
Okay, I just went this way. I'll get back and go this way. I hope.
So
Yeah.
that's what they meant by a firewall. What unlocks a firewall?
A fire key?
They caught their breath. It's beautiful, she said, looking at the ruins. This used to be the library of Ubar, he said. Before your father's ravens smashed it. Do we have to talk politics? She asked. That's not how I want to remember you, she said with an odd, wistful look on her face. She was as beautiful as she'd ever been, and as brave. Lapino huffed. They got back on the trail.
Give me a lever, said Archimedes, and I shall open a gate.
Come on, no, stop doing the freaking gate. Smash that thing. Sheesh.
Two eyes good. One eye dead. The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
Wait a sec, I'm gonna go get this chest.
As they made their way to the secret rebel base, Renata felt strange. Zenobia was his prisoner, yet somehow she felt more like an old friend. He wanted to tell her all his secrets. But suddenly, the ruins lit up with thousands of fireworks. There was a thunderous roar and dust rose. The caves were collapsing.
The caves.
You've been playing me? Renato said, and he stared at Zenobia.
I'm sorry, she said, and she seemed almost embarrassed. Then, everything went dark.
When Renato came to, he had a terrible headache. Also, Zenobia's sword was at his throat. And her shackles were gone. So was Lupino. The terrible thing is, he said, I really have missed you. Now that we've destroyed the rebellion, would you consider becoming an advisor to the Emperor's daughter?
I'm no one's servant. Everybody serves. Even if it's only destiny. I like to choose my own destinies, he said.
The whole point of a destiny is you can't choose. Oh, never mind, she said. Look, if I see you again, I'll have to kill you.
He watched her ship soar away. He would see her again, he decided. Even if he had to fight his way across the entire fleet.
And that's what I'm gonna do. Because every mission ends on the fleet. I guess arc, I guess.
The Imperial fleet was cleaning up the few rebel remnants. For only a moment, he thought about running.
But heroes don't run, even when the world is against them. Even when their cause is hopeless, and their efforts futile, and pointless, and useless, and death painful and guaranteed. He's decided to stop thinking for a while.
The portal was heavily guarded. It must go someplace they really didn't want him to go.
A little lag getting onto the boat here.
Oh, they really ought to put a railing on this thing, he thought.
Oh, there it is.
Traitors!
Caught the ravens.
Renato's arm was sore, his armor wet with raven blood. He was tired of death. But death was not yet tired of him. The rebels were losing. Badly. In some other universe,
Really?
Renato thought, he and Zenobia had left sword fu school together, taken other names and sailed off into the mists. But not this Zenobia, and not him. For him, there was nothing to do but forge ahead. Kill the Emperor and end this.
That wasn't bad. I'm running out of energy though.
Hey, do old ravens go grey? You know what?
Don't worry about it.
Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Again. This time, he'd make an end of him. He'd screwed up last time, but he had a good feeling about this time.
That's funny.
At last, he reached the Emperor's ship. Zenobia was there. "Why'd you have to come back?" She said. "Guess I'm just serving my destiny." He shrugged. "You don't even know what that word means," she said. "Do you ever wonder if things have been different all the time?" she said, and drew her sword. In the end, Renato lay bleeding out on the deck. Zenobia sat by his side, upset. "What are you so upset about?" he asked. "You wouldn't understand. Why didn't you tell me you were going to leave school? I was afraid you'd convince me not to." "I guess I'll have to buy you a drink in the halls of the Valiant then," he told her, and then he was gone. He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up, like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. And he hadn't learned anything new this time. He'd done the same thing twice, yet expected a different outcome.
I thought I was on the path for Lupino. And he's got the smallest options. I got these. I guess I've deviated too much from it, so I didn't get it unlocked. It's lame. Alright.
Book's pages fluttered to the beginning.
Let's try this again. I'll do one more.
And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Skyripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. On the other hand, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Lupino was no game changer, but could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Ah, Lupino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had...
I'll skip it. I've already went through, since I'm going through this twice in the same session. Ugh.
Lupino had
apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that
I gotta remember to go down the well this
he'd
time.
winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the ravens? People were frightened these days. Just 2 weeks past, Reynardo had sneaked through an empty town and listened to the ravens caw about the Emperor's new taste in ritual sacrifice.
There's the well.
Where did that go to?
Ouch. Ouch.
Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Where had the mad rabbit got to?
Nice. That could be useful.
Let's do that.
Dirty and bloody, Reynardo finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Reynardo recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck.
We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him.
On the other power.
See, I'm not getting that. I'm just getting hers. Oh. Find Zenobia. I did that one. Restory.
To make the Skyripper, the transcendent emperor.
It's beautiful here, thought Reynardo. He was thrilled to be back with his old war buddy. He'd missed the mad rabbit. But something was not quite right. Ooh, sparkly, thought Reynardo.
Ooh, big combos. 59.
You almost never saw wild gogglers together like this. The toads had to train them not to peck each other to death. So these had to be Imperial gogglers. That meant ravens were up ahead.
Oops, well, not paying attention. I hit the wrong button.
A very clever engineer named Elon Muskrat had got his start making floating platforms.
Ha!
Not many people knew that.
That's a new one.
Reynardo felt a little better. Reynardo felt wrong all over. He could feel an almost palpable sickness in the air. And if the land could have tumors, they would look like these monstrous crystals. The forest was quieter than it had been. There were insects, but few birds, if you didn't count the ravens. Reynardo smelled sick animals and dying ones, but no healthy ones. And getting a bad feeling about this, Reynardo thought. Maybe Lapina was right. Maybe they should have kidnapped Zenobia instead
Oh,
of
come
coming
on.
here. Reynardo could feel his fur singe. As he held the radiant icosahedron, Renato felt queasy, like dozens of tiny worms were nibbling his insides.
It wasn't healthy to be so close to the eye of a god. How could he use it?
Tell you what, said Lupino. I'll take it to the observatory. You attack the Imperial outpost.
The Imperial outpost was a vital communications node. Taking it could shatter the Empire's ability to coordinate. And it would be full of secret plans and maps and maybe even rebel prisoners. It was a good target for a hero like Renato.
But what if Lupino lost the core to the Empire? That could be a good thing, couldn't it? Was Renato ready to take that risk? Maybe it was better if he brought the core to the scientists himself.
Let's go this route. I haven't done this one yet.
Regret this. I'll treat the core like it was my own baby daughter.
As the Farfarer dived towards the Nexus, Lupino was jumping up and down with excitement. "Stop rabbiting around," Renato said. Lupino just stared at him. The moment the ship landed, Lupino leapt off the ship.
As Lupino vanished into the wilds of the Nexus, Renato vaguely remembered Lupino had a baby daughter, didn't he? And he told her mother he was going out to get some Easter eggs, and he'd never come back. But Renato was relieved not to carry the core anymore. He was already feeling better. And who knows, maybe this time Lupino would get it right. And if Renato could take the outpost, he'd have access to all the Empire's communications in this sector. Right?
Oh, this really didn't have much in the way of safety features, did it?
Renato caught his breath. His joints still hurt, but he couldn't feel the poison in his system anymore. He'd let the armature slip out of his hands to save his friend Lupino. Of course he had to let Lupino take the core. The rebellion needed every man doing his duty. And the rabbit would be no good taking on an Imperial outpost, right?
Yeah, let me handle this part. I got this.
Renato took the outpost with a song in his heart. Soon, he was stuffing his sack with key messages from and to the fleet. Then the far speaker toad chortled a new message. The observatory had been sacked by ravens. Lupino and all the scientists had been taken to the mountains. Why? Why had he trusted Lupino again? And now the Empire had the core. Renato hailed the rebel base to warn them. But their far speaker didn't crouch back. Was the base under attack too? Who knew what was going on at the base? But he knew what the Ravens would do to Lapino if Renato didn't rescue him fast. What are old friends for, if not to need rescuing every few days?
Man, I blow it through this. It's good. It was taking me like 45 minutes to an hour to do one story. I've done almost 3 in almost 2 hours. So not bad.
Renato felt a twinge of doubt. Should he have gone to the base? No. Logically, wherever they'd taken Lapino was probably where they took the core, right? Oh, why couldn't Lapino have just, for once, not got himself captured? Was that too much to ask? He shouldn't be too hard on the rabbit. No, he meant well, and he was insanely brave. You had to admire that.
Oops, I walked right into that freaking fire.
Renato checked for a false compartment. Nope.
That was good. That was good. Good fight.
Good thing Renato didn't have vertigo. Where were they holding Lapino anyway? There was no sign of him or the Ravens who'd captured him. Just rocks and snow and the usual scouts. No sign of the core either. Was this a wild rabbit chase? Oh, trust Lapino to screw up even getting captured. But what was this rebellion for anyway? Well, Lapino was a useless goof, but he was a friend. If friends didn't matter anymore, what was the point of winning this war?
Does make a good point.
Okay, let's get this over with, and we can all go home. Well, not you, just me.
I build my castle, thought Renato, all my gates are going to open with buttons, and all the levers will drop rocks at your head. Renato thought about the intel he'd gathered from the outpost. Who would he bring it to? Who even had time to read it?
At the end of the mountain path, Renato came to a clearing. There was a campfire, raven feathers, and... oh, Lupino's lucky deck of cards. Well, that wasn't good. Renato hoped Lupino would not try to cheat his captors at cards. Ravens were much better than weasels at counting, and they had a very poor sense of humor.
Then, he saw what he had hoped never to see. Fresh scraps of rabbit fur. Ragged and bloody, ravens would eat anything.
By Crabthar's hammer!
Renato screamed at the sky.
I will avenge you!
The
Oh,
rebels had assembled their fleet. Ahead, the clouds were dark with Imperial ships. If he could reach the Emperor before the rest of the rebels did, maybe he could settle this without too much bloodshed. He set sail, and the Farfarer shot forward.
Poor Lupino had never been a great warrior. The mad rabbit was good for a lark and a laugh. And a pint. The thought of ravens eating him made Renato furious. The way they were eating up the land. The way the Emperor was eating up the people with his new, bloodthirsty ways. He would make them all pay.
grab some more energy going into these battles.
Led right into the middle of the fleet. It was a glaring weakness in the defense. This was much easier than free climbing.
Can I help you, Basil?
He had given up every objective.
You're just
to
looking
save
at me.
his friend. He had given up the armature, the core, the gem, and even Zenobia. He loved Lupino, he realized. And now the rabbit was gone. A hero looks out for his friends, even when they're gone. He would send Lupino an honor guard of ravens to serve him in the halls of the Valiant. He would avenge him. Oh, now you smell even worse.
Finally, he reached the Emperor's ship. And there was Lapino, surrounded by ravens. He was alive. They'd eaten some other rabbit. I'll save you! He shouted with joy and flung himself at the ravens. Oh, you shouldn't have, said Lapino when the last raven was down.
Renato threw his arms around his best friend. I had to come. I love you, man.
You really, really shouldn't have, said Lapino. And Renato felt a rather sharp pain in his back. As he collapsed, Lapino took the dagger out of Renato's back.
Oh.
Wiped it off on Renato's sleeve. Why? You always have to be the hero. Brave Renato, epic Renato, super sexy Renato, and I'm sick of it. But I loved you. And you thought I was the idiot, said Lapino as Renato died.
So
He should go
Lapino
back
is
to
a
some of the
spy.
choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up, like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. But he'd learned another true thing. Lapino was a traitor. Renato had suspected there was something wrong with the Mad Rabbit, but now he knew there was malice behind his goofiness. The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again, faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer.
Pieces of the Skyripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
So there's a key on this one. But we're going to stop there for the day. And I'll be back in a couple days to play some more. Thanks for everybody for stopping by. Thanks for the host. I appreciate it. And I will see everybody next time.